Hey, on behalf of Flashback, we want to thank you for having us at your event tonight, CASA's Hops and Barley Ball. We're looking forward to a great evening, and here we go.
Good evening. Welcome to CASA's very first virtual Hops and Barley Ball. A cheers to 35 years. Virtual is very different this year. hence the lower half of my face being hidden. I'm Taylor Hemness, news anchor from 41 Action News, KSHB here in Kansas City. Want to welcome you to this great event. My third year to be involved with this. Really glad to be back, even under these weird pretenses this year. The band Flashback just shared with us it is indeed going to be a great night. They're back again this year by popular demand. People actually wanted them back. This part I'm not certain about. We also want to thank each of you for watching this evening. Again, watching, not being in person. Thank you for celebrating with us as we recognize 35 years of CASA's advocacy for children in our community. A really important work being done by this organization, which you are supporting tonight. Now, we are coming to you tonight from Lenexa, a beautiful home owned by J.S. Robinson Fine Homes. This is a partner to CASA, been very kind to offer up this property, a wonderful location for our event broadcast. We're kind of in a hidden location like the Batcave, just with better furniture. We'd like to thank Jeff Robinson, Eric Robinson, and all the great people of their company who've been so welcoming to the CASA team. We're thrilled to be here tonight. Now, also thrilled to be here tonight is Amarita Johnson. Amarita is joining me here. CASA's program director, has been a member of the CASA staff for 22 years. That's a good 22 years spent working with CASA, Amarita. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Now, I want to give you a moment to speak about CASA kind of on an introductory level for people that are not as familiar with CASA and what they do. This is an organization that serves as a powerful voice to match volunteer advocates to abused and neglected children. Really important any day of the week, maybe even more so right now, would you say?
Of course, that is so true. Our proximity to the children and families, courtrooms, foster homes, etc., may be further apart physically right now, but our service to the children remains unchanged. The commitment has not changed. Our CASA volunteers, staff, and leadership have become very creative to supporting, advocating for our children. As you can imagine, CASA expects an increase in the number of children who have experienced child abuse and neglect in this difficult time. The disruption from schools, peers, religious centers, extracurricular activities, and more is of great concern, especially for those children living in homes already at risk for domestic violence, substance abuse, job loss, and food insecurity. The current environment is only exacerbating the stressors placed on families. But I want our supporters to know, and the viewers tonight to know, that CASA continues to stay invested and engaged in the lives of our children. One-on-one interactions through FaceTime, Skype, Zoom, etc., as well as phone calls, texts, and driveway visits are regularly occurring between volunteer advocates and our children. Staff and volunteers continue to participate virtually in court hearings, case plan meetings, and other important activities regarding children. CASA is present for the children, and we are also ready to advocate for the additional number of children who will be coming in who need advocacy service when the world fully reopens. And mandated reporters can assess again, and children coming into the community.
Such delicate work that is already done on behalf of your organization, by the people in your organization. Just another thing that's been impacted by COVID-19 and pandemic, so we appreciate everything that you're doing, even under these weird circumstances that you're having to do it. Now, I'm also here with CASA's board president, Angie Wyandotte. Angie, I know COVID has impacted a lot of nonprofit organizations, as well as the services that people need. You had an opportunity to sit down with a special woman who deserves quite a bit of credit for founding CASA in 1985. Maybe this organization doesn't look the same without this woman. Tell us more about her.
Sure. Well, thanks, Taylor. It really was an honor for me to sit down with founding member Betty Barnett. I'm a CASA volunteer and also serving this year as the board president, but hearing from Betty and hearing how the organization got started was really inspiring. The community jumped on board to help. We continue to need the community's support 35 years later. But this organization has really grown, and the perseverance that it took to sustain the organization, grow it over 35 years, is really an inspiration. And during these challenging times, it was wonderful to hear from somebody who was there at the very beginning. So take a look at my conversation with Betty. It's really wonderful to sit down and talk to you and learn more about the early days of CASA of Johnson and Wyandotte counties. You were one of the founding members of CASA. Will you talk a little bit about how you got involved?
We had a member of the National Council of Jewish Women here in Kansas City named Dorothy Rosenwald. This was in 1983, and she heard about the CASA program. She brought that program back to Kansas City, and Kansas City got so excited about it, the National Council, that they started their own program. And I was in a class of 9 first CASAs, and we were trained and then we were assigned cases. And the cases were adjudicated by commissioners. I think there was 1 judge and 2 commissioners. And we acted as guardians ad litem at that time and spoke with the judge and told him what we had found. In Johnson County, there was no program, and in order to get the county involved, we went to everybody that we knew that had an important job. Eleanor Lowe with Kansas Action for Children. Ellen Lehner was with a political group. Dennis Moore was the representative. All the judges and people who were representative of the court, and there were 20 altogether that were civic leaders in Johnson County. And we called them the Board of Trustees. And we met every 6 months at the courthouse, and they heard what we were doing, and then they gave us suggestions about how we could make the program better.
What was it like being a CASA volunteer back then, and what did you learn about yourself through that process?
It was, for me, it was like what it would have been like to be a lawyer. And I had given that some thought in my early college days. And I discovered probably for me it wasn't the thing, but it was a lot of fun going to court and interacting with the court officers and the judge. And at that point I had 3 little kids of my own and often placed myself in the position of needing help and wondering what that would be like.
So very meaningful work to you.
Very meaningful. My first case was a little 14-year-old girl she had been pregnant. She now had a 3-month-old baby, and she was being tossed between foster homes. And my job was to find a placement for her. In those days, it was really difficult with foster care, and there were times when that baby was back and forth in foster care as many as 6 times in a year. And she would run away. She ran away to Oakland. Her mom was dead, her father was missing. She did have a grandma, and the grandma helped occasionally, but the only thing that really kept her with her child was that she grew up. And over a period of time, by the time she was 21, she was able to take care of this child. The child grew up, went into the Navy, became a wonderful citizen, is now married and has children of his own. The mother passed away, but the boy has done wonderfully well.
And you're still in touch with him?
And I'm still in touch with him, yes.
That's amazing. What would you say to somebody who is considering being a CASA volunteer?
I think probably a love of children, a sadness at the way some children are being treated, especially now during this pandemic. I think we're seeing more abuse and neglect of children than we have even before. I think our social welfare systems are probably overwhelmed, and the more volunteers that can come in and help, the better we're going to be. Our children are not going to suffer so much. You're involved in 1 or 2 children's lives very personally for a length of time, and you can change that child's life. You can make it better. As a matter of fact, you can save the life of that child. So I can't emphasize enough how important the role of CASA is to every child who needs one.
Betty, it's great to talk to you about the history of CASA and our first 35 years as an organization. We have a lot of great plans for the next decades, and I think it's interesting to show the growth of the organization. So in 1985, your first class of volunteers, you had 9 volunteers. We now have over 225 volunteers serving the kids in our communities.
That's amazing.
Isn't that incredible? It's an incredible growth. And even more important are the number of children that we've served. So in 1985, 22 children's lives were improved because of the program that you started. And at the end of 2019, we served over 500 children, and we're on par to serve even more by the end of 2020.
That's just incredible. And I wish we could double that. I know that there are at least double that number of children who need CASAs. So we need volunteers desperately to take on the lives of these children and help them succeed.
Absolutely true. We not only need those volunteer advocates, but we also need financial support from the community so that we can grow our programs and recruit and train even more volunteers to serve those children in the community.
It sounds wonderful, and I wish CASA all the best. I hope the people that are watching this program will contribute to CASA. It's just such a wonderful way to save children's lives.
Thanks again to Betty for recording that with us in her 90s and wishing us luck moving forward for CASA. That's pretty great.
Great message from Betty.
Absolutely. I'm glad to have her involved tonight. Again, we'll celebrate and mark the 35 years of CASA advocacy a little bit later tonight with a toast. So be sure and have a drink ready to participate in that at 7:45 this evening if you want to take part in real time. Now, of course, as you know, as you watch this is a fundraiser tonight for CASA. We want to make sure that you have the opportunity to give to this wonderful organization. I want to bring in Alyssa Purbeck this direction, CASA's development director. And the reason I'm here tonight, she pulled me in to do this again. So I appreciate you inviting me again. Tell us how people can reach out and support financially the organization tonight.
Thank you, Taylor. We appreciate you being here, and thank you for asking that question. Certainly, as you all are watching at home this evening, we want to encourage you to donate on our website, our event and auction website. You'll see the address on the bottom of your video screens. You can also use the menu or the left-hand sidebar, which provides a link to the donate page. Here you will see suggested giving levels, and we hope that you will pay attention and give as you are able, as generously as you are able to tonight. You may also select to support us through our Facebook page at CASA JWC. Every bit of dollar given tonight is going to go straight to the children in need, and we certainly appreciate you being here with us.
And it's made very easy and very doable tonight by all those different ways that you
So
can help
easy
out.
to do, so easy to do. Just hit donate and give.
Excellent. Alyssa, thank you very much. I want to bring Emerita back in, who we spoke to earlier, because every year during Hops and Barley Ball, we try to give some perspective to people as they are watching, or normal years in person, to hear more about exactly what they're donating to and why there's a need, why you need financial help from people to help out CASA. Tell us more about some of the numbers involved that really paint a picture of what the funds can do whenever people give.
All right, Taylor. Last year, 504 children of the 1,500 in care received a CASA advocate. This work ensured children who had experienced abuse or neglect were matched with a friend, a court advocate, a CASA volunteer. Volunteers advocate for children to receive necessary medical, therapeutic, and educational services to improve their well-being while in the system. They also assess home living situations and relationships with the adults in the child's life. Volunteers are often the most permanent, stable connection for children while they're in foster care. Their involvement helps children recover from trauma and begin to thrive and find loving care in a safe, permanent home.
Angie, if you'll step back in too, again, because there are still children who are waiting tonight as we sit here and do this, as we record this, as people watch. There are people, little kids, that are literally waiting on someone to help them.
Taylor, those numbers are significant. Right now, we have only 1 in 4 children who need CASA services receiving it. We expect the numbers of children who've suffered abuse and neglect to rise during the pandemic, and we really must be ready to serve those when they need us most. So on behalf of those children who need our services, I'm asking for your financial support tonight. It will truly make a difference for abused and neglected children, both here in Johnson and in Wyandotte counties.
Those numbers absolutely put it in perspective what people are trying to help out tonight and have an opportunity to help out tonight. Angie, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we want to share one success story with you tonight. It's the story of the Hahn family, their children, Dixie and Blake, and CASA volunteer Tiffany Connolly. Take a look.
March 8th, 2018 brought us a special gift. Sweet 17-month-old Dixie and her precious 4-week-old baby brother Blake. We had been parents to newborn twins. Our oldest 2 children were longed for, cared for, and loved every single moment since conception. During pregnancy, I had plenty of rest, nutrition and hydration, and stayed active. Dixie and Blake weren't given the benefit of such a healthy entry into the world. Dixie was born 4 weeks early, underweight, and testing positive with illegal substances at delivery. At 3 months old, her biological parents dropped her off to live with her biological grandparents. Blake was born 5 weeks early and spent 3 weeks in the NICU due to underdeveloped lungs. He had just one 20-minute visit during his entire stay, if we had only known. Like his sister, Blake tested positive for illegal substances at birth, spawning additional investigation that led Dixie to be removed from her home and be placed with a temporary foster family, where Blake joined her after his release from the hospital. Together, they spent a few days in a short-term placement until we got the call. The first several weeks were difficult and held one of the saddest times of the day for me, when Dixie woke from sleeping by screeching and screaming, full volume. One day it just stopped. We had been able to tell her by our actions that when she cried, we came. And for about a week, life was golden. The signs of trauma slowly began making their appearances. At only 17 months old, Dixie bit her arms, hit her head on walls and furniture, flailed and kicked. We were trying to meet her needs, but based on her response, I don't think she saw it that way. With consistent use of trust-based relationship intervention, Dixie, my husband, and I have grown tremendously in how we deal with trauma. For us as a new placement, it was overwhelming. We wanted Dixie to heal and process what she was feeling, but we didn't know where to even begin. From the outside, things looked normal, but I don't think Dixie knew what she was feeling. It was difficult to see so much hurt, bitterness, and fear in such beautiful eyes, especially embodied in such a tiny girl. She needed love, attention, a calm spirit to give a gentle voice. She needed to know that she mattered, that she had a voice. There were a significant number of appointments that were required because Dixie and Blake had essentially just entered care. The list of changes started piling up. Within the first few weeks, I was notified about CASA and that we'd been assigned a volunteer to meet with regularly. And if I'm honest, after all the intake appointments, I wasn't exactly geared up with excitement for another standing meeting. Little did I know, Tiffany was swooping in to save the day. She is very passionate about serving children, and it shows. She became the voice for my children.
A CASA is a volunteer sworn in by a judge to speak for a child that would otherwise not be heard. We are a child's voice in court. When children come into foster care, the first goal is always to reintegrate them with their biological parents as soon as they can become safe and appropriate. The first month these children were in care, the biological parents did a few short visits with their children. But by the second month, both parents refused to participate in services offered and had stopped even asking to see their children. Throughout the case, it was my privilege to watch Dixie's language flourish as she began to enunciate and form sentences. I also watched and witnessed as she learned about behavior expectations, daily structure, how to share with others, take turns, and follow rules and use manners. She began to receive proper nutrition, medical and dental care, her teeth began to heal, and her hair color and texture even changed. Dixie had earlier come into care with sores on her mouth and brown spots on her teeth. She had damaged hair as well, as she often pulled it out from the roots, a mechanism she used to cope with the trauma and anxiety that she was feeling. I also watched Blake's growth and development. As a preemie when he was born, he measured at less than 1% on the growth chart. To witness milestones such as smiling, laughing, rolling over, and walking is such an incredible privilege, one that we are only used to witnessing with our own children.
Tiffany always arrived with smiles and cheer. She was an encouragement to all of our hearts. I was certain she would be hoarse by the time she left after reading so many books. But she did that because she knew that's what my children enjoyed, and she was building a relationship, a connection with them. Her genuine care for our family has been astounding. When she's with us, her energy is with us. She's not preoccupied with any other cases or families or errands or a to-do list. She's a present person. That alone is a gift to our children.
At this point, you are probably wondering what I even do for these kids. Everything I've mentioned thus far is incredibly rewarding. Well, that's the best part about being a CASA volunteer. What stands out to me are the strong connections that I've made and the teachable moments, both the ones that I've taught and the ones that I've learned. The other side of this work includes communicating with teachers, counselors, doctors, caseworkers, attorneys, foster parents, biological parents, as well as identifying community resources that best help our children. Then we compile all this information, write reports, and make recommendations to the judge to advocate for the child or children's best interest.
In September 2018, we were given a laid-back heads up about a half-sibling of Dixie and Blake's that might be coming back into care. We were asked to ponder if we would be open to adding the child as a new placement in our home. It was extremely casual. Brandon and I didn't even know they had a half-sibling. We began to consider the possibilities and the potential changes it would create in our home. After much prayer and discussion, we felt it was best to encourage the commitment of another foster home. A few days later, my phone rang, and it was our family services coordinator. She again informed me that there was a half-sibling to Dixie and Blake that re-entered care, and frankly, she needed a home. In short, our worker stated that our option was to accept this placement or lose Dixie and Blake. My heart completely sank. The children had been with us, the only parents they truly knew. They felt a connection to siblings, grandparents, other extended family members, and more. After I pulled myself together and out of shock mode, I called my husband. Then I called Tiffany. I didn't call her because I knew she'd want me to be comfortable. I called her because I knew she'd be there for Dixie and Blake no matter what. After the children's placement with us, they saw their biological parents only a handful of times. They dropped nearly all contact, even with their own caseworker. Dixie and Blake knew no other place as home. When we were matched with this case, my husband and I were completely on board with reintegration. We wanted to be pro-family. We wanted to see lives changed and forward progress made. Based on their actions, none of that was what the biological parents wanted. There had been no visitation or communication from them for months. Tiffany knew all of this and more. Foster parents don't have much of a voice, but CASA volunteers do. And Tiffany spoke up. Her guidance over Dixie and Blake's future was valuable in far more ways than just my words can share. Tiffany's advocacy for the best interest of my children was priceless. She immediately stepped in to make sure that their lives were disrupted as little as possible in this strange mix of circumstances. I completely understand the significant push to keep siblings together. However, this was a situation that none of the children had ever met. They didn't know each other existed. The Department for Children and Families agreed with the recommendation and proceeded with paperwork accordingly. Hearings and meetings were scheduled, and when we finally got word that it was approved, months later, we breathed a huge sigh of relief. And Tiffany was there for it all. She was there when we turned in our adoption packet. She continued to discuss their developmental growth. She was with us for the finalization of our adoption on November 23rd, when Judge Sloan held her court in session specifically for National Adoption Day. If you're a CASA, thank you. I don't think our family would be what it is today if it wasn't for our CASA.
When I tell people I volunteer in the child welfare system, they always ask me if my background is in social work. The answer is no. I was definitely stepping out of my comfort zone when I first committed to this incredibly important role. I soon realized that all my skills easily cross over. As CASAs, we research, study, ask questions, and think outside the box to try to find ways and means to empower these at-risk children and their families. A commitment to empowering children and families is all you need to do really great work in this world. Today, each person is asked to donate, which is an incredible way to contribute. I also ask that today you consider other possible ways that you may help. Maybe you're a caregiver and would be an incredible foster parent, or maybe you're like me with no experience in social work or social welfare. As long as you have empathy and a commitment to making a difference for children, you can be an amazing CASA. I will close with a quote that I love and respect. When little people come to us with big emotions, it's our job to share our calm, not to join their chaos.
Success stories are what make it possible for you to give and see where your funding is going. We're so glad to feature the Hahn family and Tiffany Connolly tonight, the Children's CASA volunteer advocate, for sharing that message. It gives you a glimpse into what is being done here for the last 35 years, helping kids like Dixie and Blake that you just saw there. So as you give tonight, that's what you're working towards. I want to ask Angie and Alyssa again to talk about a very special announcement tonight, because for certain people that give up to a certain amount, they could double their funding tonight, right?
Absolutely, Taylor. So we're thrilled to announce that your donations tonight will be matched by our corporate partner Cerner and their First Hand Foundation. Cerner recognizes the important work that CASA is doing in the community to help combat negative health determinants stemming from childhood trauma or adverse childhood events like abuse and neglect.
We would like to thank Cerner for their matching gift and encourage you to double your gift tonight to CASA by donating right now.
So if you were thinking about it, this is your chance to double your money and help out even more than you thought you were going to as you started watching tonight. Also, as always, there's an auction going on as well with Hops and Barley Ball. Always going to happen. Some great items on there. If you've been looking at a room in your house for the last 6 months going, I hate this room, I have to change it. You have an opportunity if you bid on the auction tonight. Some great Kendra Scott jewelry, some items from Boulevard Brewery as well. Always on that auction that you can go and check out. That's going to continue past tonight. October 7th is how long that's going to stay on. So if you're used to coming to the Hops and Barley Ball in person and kind of wandering around that one little clipboard with your thing that you want, you're going to have to do it for a few more days this time around. So just be sure and you're ready for that. For October 7th is when that will end. We're almost ready for the celebratory toast. Again, 35 years tonight that we're celebrating, so be sure and grab your favorite drink to get ready for that. Before that, here are a few messages from some of CASA's friends and supporters. Take a look.
I support CASA because they're a wonderful organization helping kids in need.
They're just all about helping people.
Every child deserves someone to listen and speak up for them.
That they deserve to be loved and they matter to all of us.
I support CASA because I've seen it change the lives of many kids.
Of those who are often unseen and forgotten.
Young children that have been traumatized or come from difficult backgrounds.
I've experienced firsthand the positive effects that a CASA volunteer can make in the life of that foster child.
Because there's so many kids in Johnson and Wyandotte County that need a voice.
They advocate for the child concerning his or her family and or foster care placements.
I've also seen families who received help and became successful through the work of CASA volunteers.
I also support CASA because of the exceptional staff that they have.
I get to be a dependable friend for a child who's had many social workers and many placements.
Not only in becoming a personal friend and confidant to that child, but also in helping to secure the needed professional services for that child.
For the health and welfare of the most vulnerable sectors of our society, our children.
Because they spend their time helping others.
And we are their support, their confidant, their foundation as they go through the foster care system. Thank you. I've been a CASA for 10 years and I love it.
I am very proud to be a member of that organization. Thank you.
Congratulations, and keep advocating for the vulnerable.
Congratulations, CASA, on 35 years of support.
Congratulations, CASA, on 35 years.
Congratulations to CASA for 35 years of service.
Thank you, CASA. You are a blessing to so many.
Happy 35th anniversary.
Congrats, 35 years, CASA.
Congratulations, CASA, on 35 years.
Congratulations, and I hope you have many more successful years.
Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Let's raise a glass and make a toast to the wonderful organization of CASA of Johnson and Wyandotte counties. Thank you to our volunteers, our staff, and this incredible community for supporting us all these years. Cheers to 35 years.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Well, even under the oddest of circumstances, this has been a fantastic evening for Hops and Barley Ball, virtual this year for the first time. We want to take a minute to thank CASA's event sponsors and all the great people who have helped to make tonight's event possible. It takes a lot of work to make this happen live with a band and party and food. It takes just as much work to happen recorded virtually. Tell us more about that,
It
Leslie.
really does. It really does. And we want to thank the very hardworking volunteer planning committee who put a lot of time and energy into this very first virtual event. We also want to thank our presenting sponsor, Performance Contracting Group. We have been glad to share this evening with lead sponsors Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas City, UMB Financial Corporation, Lockton, and Smith & Lovelace. There are other important partners as well, and we wish to show our thanks to them. You'll see corporate names and logos listed on your screens. CASA also wants to thank our excellent audiovisual team from ES4 Design. Without their donations and support, we would not be here tonight. Thank you guys.
Absolutely. They're off camera right now. I'm giving them a thumbs up because they've done excellent work here in making sure you're able to watch this from the comfort of your home. Don't leave too quickly tonight because there's going to be another final performance from Flashback, and also a reminder to keep giving. There's lots of ways people can donate if they want to, right? From Facebook to online, whatever they need to do.
Yes, please continue to visit our auction website. Look at the items that we have available. You can also make your donation through any of our levels of our giving on the donate page. You can do that through October 7th.
Excellent. And the auction will be up through October 7th as well. That does not end tonight. So if you go to bed thinking, hey, I won that thing, no, you haven't tonight. You've got a few more days to keep bidding and keep watching that item and make sure you're at the top of the list. Again, thank you so much for joining us tonight for raising money for this very worthy organization. 35 years and counting. Here's one more performance from Flashback. Have a great night.
On behalf of Flashback, we want to thank CASA for 35 years of being an advocate for the community and the children in the community. We want to thank you so very much. Have a great evening. Cheers, everybody.
So moved.